Trust Thomas is the 13th episode of the third series, which is loosely based on the magazine story Bertie's Bumpy Road by Andrew Brenner. This episode was so popular that it ended up having the VHS tape named after it, Trust Thomas and Other Stories. But is it really as good as the VHS makes it out to be? Let's have a look. It's a beautiful day and Thomas is puffing along his branch line with Annie and Campbell, enjoying himself enormously. He soon meets Bertie, who is having the most unpleasant journey driving over the bumpy roads. At the station, Thomas finds out that Bertie has lost his trust in the railway service after they failed to deliver tar to mend the road 2 weeks earlier, and resolves to find out the source of the problem. Meanwhile, James is complaining about having to do Percy's work while the green saddle tank engine is at the harbour, and takes his anger out by bumping his trucks, who vow to pay him out. Gordon advises James that if he pretended to be sick, he would not have to shunt trucks or go to the quarry, and James happily decides to try it. When Thomas arrives, James pretends to be ill and Thomas offers to take James's trucks for him to the quarry. The troublesome trucks, who are still cross at James for bumping them, decide to take their anger out on Thomas, deciding that one engine is as good as another. On the way back from the quarry, the trucks push Thomas over some points and onto a jetty, which floats across a muddy pond and sinks. Thomas finds the unexpected incident humiliating, especially since the day started so well, too. Duck handles the trucks, then Edward brings Thomas home on a flatbed. On the way, Thomas then remembers about the missing tar and informs Edward about it. He recalls a tar tanker was left at Wellsworth and offers to collect it to ensure that it reaches Bertie's road. James and Gordon apologise for the trick, and Bertie arrives saying that the road is being mended and he has regained his trust in the railway. Gordon and James slowly leave for the shed, but Thomas is still not alone, for it just so happens that a toad from the pond has stowed away on his valise for company and is looking forward to a ride home.
I say, you fellows, this is the only way to travel!
This episode was so popular that it got its name on the VHS tape released with 8 other episodes. And I can see why people in the TV series community likes it. It is a fun Thomas story that has James, Gordon and Bertie in it as well. And James's subplot of pretending to be ill, as suggested by Gordon, is loosely adapted from Sir Handel's subplot in Trucks from the Railway series book Little Old Engine. And I love the atmosphere of that yard that James and Gordon are shunting in. It's just so massive with loads of trucks everywhere and represents the busy working life of the railway. And I love the scene when James bumps the trucks through anger. Just the way he complains about having to do Percy's work, it's just so James-like.
James was snorting about in the yard. "It's too bad," he grumbled. "Percy goes to work at the harbour and I do his job. Here, there and everywhere. Take that." "Oh, run the trot. Just you wait, we'll show you."
It also carries on with James's tendency to sometimes not tell the truth from No Joke for James. Although James wasn't exactly alone in that lie, since it was actually suggested by Gordon.
"I'll tell you what, James. If you pretend to be ill everywhere, you couldn't shunt trucks here or go to the quarry there, could you?" "What a good idea," agreed James.
And in the 4th series, he would later on suggest it to Sir Handel. And the scene when James is bumping the trucks in the yard. The scene goes wrong in the remastered version, where he bumps the trucks way too early before the sound effect kicks in. That was obviously a mistake that Hint Entertainment made when they re-released it on DVD for the remastered version, since in the original broadcasted version, the visuals and the sound effects are completely in sync. It was just another mistake that Hit made when re-releasing it and remastering it for DVD that they could have easily avoided. But like a lot of the other goofs that Hit Entertainment made for the remastered versions, this one doesn't ruin the episode at all. And I love the troublesome trucks' role in this episode as well, showing that even though the engine who's pulling them didn't do anything bad to them, they'll just take out their anger on them anyway, showing that trucks will be troublesome regardless.
"We couldn't pay James back for bumping us, so we'll play tricks on Thomas instead. One engine is as good as another."
And to this day I still have no idea how they got that toad to move about in the episode. I don't know if it was string or an animatronic, I have no idea, but it just looks awesome. Just seeing that thing move without any evident strings or animatronics or anything. If anyone has their own idea on how that toad was able to move on its own, leave your suggestions in the comments below. I think it'd be fun to judge what it might have been. And even though they don't really focus too much on Bertie's subplot with the bumpy roads, it's still a huge part of the episode since it gets a conclusion at the end. It's also the first time we get to see Bertie's angry face. And the crash scene in the episode isn't one of the most life-threatening ones, but it is one of the most entertaining ones to watch. Especially when you hear that funny comedy-like danger music during the scene. All in all, Trust Thomas is a fun episode with a fun crash and some fun subplots. I'd say it's definitely worth having its name on the old VHS tapes, and it's an episode that I would recommend checking out for anyone that loves Thomas episodes. It's got a fun crash, some fun moments, and it's just an all-around fun episode that you won't want to miss.